Hi guys, if you've been following my journey, I've been learning to day trade penny stocks on the US market since October 2024, and I've been paper trading for the last 2.5 months, and somehow I've had every month green. So I'm feeling really motivated by that, and this week I made the decision to start trading with real money and opened a very small account of $150. So paper trading's been really helpful for me to kind of try things out, learn the ropes, get experience and build some confidence. But now I think for the time and effort that I'm putting into trade analysis, real money is the next step. So starting with only $150, it's not so much money that there's going to be too much pressure for me to actually take a trade, but also being real money, it is going to encourage me to have discipline and responsibility and just be quite choosy about the trades that I take. If I do lose it all, it's completely fine. I've got to start somewhere. And also if I do lose it, it's going to point out that I need to change something. But I do obviously want to make it work and try and grow this account and size up once I start to trade green, however long that may take me. So let's walk through my first real money trade. Okay, so the ticker was IBO. This is the daily chart over here. Sorry, it's a little bit messy with all these arrows and things. I did actually take a paper trade on it at the same time as taking the real money trade. My account is with Webull UK, and yeah, as I said, it's a $150 account, and their fees are really tiny as well, which is very important for me, especially with a small account. I don't want to get eaten up by fees, so that's quite handy. So ticker was IBO, and it was a low float stock, of course, as always, under $10. It had this big one up on high volume here, and I was waiting for a pullback to play it for a bounce. Yeah, so there were a couple of concerns with this. I played it on this day here, and the concerns were that it tried to have a green day here, where it went green, then came back down, tried to have a green day here. So there was that to bear in mind, but I still felt like it was an okay setup. So the reason I played it on this day, which is already blocking the view here, let's see, Thursday the 27th of March, is because let's go to the 5-minute chart over here. The day before, it had come down nicely to the $2 mark, and being a whole dollar mark, that's always quite significant, and it kind of held that level quite well. And then going back to day one of the move, kind of had this sort of resistance level there at around the $2 mark, and then had this breakout here after hours from its day one, from the sort of 2.25 mark. So going back to the day before, so it's pushed off that $2, and then after hours it's then holding where it broke out after its day one, around the 2.25 mark. So I liked that. It had a nice spike after hours and came back down, another spike pre-market. So to me that was hinting that it's going to bounce. It's holding support off where it broke out after day one. It's already tested that $2 mark, pushed off nicely, so I quite liked that. So I got in, let's have a look. Yeah, my risk was at the 2.27 mark-ish. I mean, I might have put it slightly lower, I can't remember. And yeah, I entered at, these are my paper trade ones, so the little orange dots here are where I actually did just drawn them on for where I took the real money trades. So I entered pre-market around about 8:48 and US time, and I got in at 2:32, risking off that 2.25-ish mark. Obviously it broke it a little bit there, but that was fine. Didn't have a stop loss on because it's pre-market anyway, and I would have allowed it that bit of wiggle room. So as you can see with my paper trade that I took, which is I bought here and I had already sold a bit there, so that was quite nice. But then I decided actually this is going to be my first real money trade, so ended up taking it on Webull as well. So just going to talk through the real money part of it. So entry was there, market opened, and I sold a piece here at 250, and then during this time it wasn't really doing what I thought it was going to do. I thought it was going to have a bit more of a earlier move, and then it had this big red candle here which definitely scared me off, but still respected my risk thankfully, so I didn't get stopped out there. But that was pretty significant drop there. Did reclaim it, had another little nice move up to where it was before, and then it just had this big green candle again. And by this point, so maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I moved my risk up to I can't remember, I think it was somewhere around here, around 234-ish. I'm not sure if that was the right thing to do or not, but it wasn't really doing what I thought it was going to do. I didn't like this big red candle here, and it was my first real money trade, so I wanted to be cautious and keep my risk tight. So I moved my risk up after I'd sold that initial piece there, and then had this green candle which just tested it for literally like a few seconds, and it stopped me out. So I was out of the trade, but I did get stopped out at 238. I think it went off that. Okay, so maybe that's where I put my risk. So I still made money off it because I'd moved my risk up and I'd taken that sell there. So my average sell over both of those was 244. It's an overall gain of about 5%, so not great, but it's my first trade, and to actually take a percentage gain, more than happy with that. It didn't go the way I wanted to, but didn't lose money, made a little bit of money. I think I made like, I don't know, $3.50, $4, something like that, so really tiny, but kind of cool. I wasn't really sure if this was a good setup or not afterwards, because as a beginner you don't know, was this a good setup that just didn't work out, or was it just the wrong trade to take? So I asked my brother to review the trade, who is a day trader, and two things he said was what I said earlier, it's tried to have these green days already, and it couldn't do it. But also more significantly, he pointed out, so across the days of its sort of decline downwards, it's kind of holding this wedge pattern, which he pointed out. And then on the day that it had this big pullback here, so the day before I played it, it broke that wedge, and it did have a nice drop off it, so there is a potential opportunity for a bounce the next day. But he said because it broke that wedge, which has been holding over a number of days, he would have expected or liked at least another red day, because when things break wedges, the same as if things have a breakout and they break a wedge, they can move up quite a bit. So the same goes for it going down. If it's going to break that wedge, it might do it across multiple days first before you could look for a bounce, if it even bounces. So that's definitely something for me to consider. I wasn't even thinking in terms, I hadn't even noticed that wedge, or didn't even know how to connect the dots on that. So good little learning curve for me there. Yeah, and just to say that I put $70 on the trade as well, so not a massive amount, but my account size is 150, so significant chunk of the account. So yeah, that was that one. So I was very happy to have taken a small percentage gain there. That was on the Thursday. On the Friday then I went and pretty much lost all my gains, so I'll briefly go over those. I'll go with the first one. So RNAZ is the ticker, and this was just a really stupid trade, to be honest. I knew I shouldn't have taken it when I took it, And I think probably just getting overexcited, like wanting to try something at real money, like, oh, this could be a little, could have a little bounce here. I don't know what I was thinking. Just, yeah, it wasn't the right trade at all. So it was RNAZ. So yeah, I played it on this day here. And as you can see, it opened spiked, closed red, but let's just go over to the 1 minute chart. So reason I looked at it, it came up on my scan, low float stock, spiked aftermarket, pre-market, kind of holding these, keeps hitting these highs of about 72. And yeah, there really was no thesis for this other than it's gapping up and it's playing within this range, which is even more bizarre because it broke that range. Like, it was holding this sort of support here of, yeah, let's say around 61. It broke that and then it started to hold around 60. And that's when I decided I'd take the trade somewhere around here. And I could see it holding this 60 line, but I don't know why I'd done that, because it was holding support here and it had now broken that and it was finding like a new lower support level. So there wasn't much for me to go on there, and I couldn't cross-reference it with anything going on in the daily chart. There was nothing for me to work off there. Just really poor trade, to be honest, just getting overexcited. So yeah, I took it at, got in at around 60 cents, and my risk I put where it had held support here. I think I put it slightly under, and then I think I bought it like literally around here. A few minutes later, it just cracked it. So awful trade. Obviously stop losses don't work pre-market, and my risk, yeah, was just like under this level. So I saw it breaking it, and I just cut and lost around $2 on that. And really important for me to have cut there, which I'm quite pleased about. You know, I didn't have a stop loss in place because it was pre-market, but I saw it breaking it. I didn't hang around. I cut my loss, and that was it. And obviously it was the right decision to make. This is why it's really important to stick to your risk. As it, you know, just came back down. I don't want to end up sitting on a bigger loss than I was willing to take. So that was that trade. I wish I could explain more of a thesis on that, but there isn't one. That's how bad it was. So yeah, and then I went on to take another trade, SGLY. This one, yeah, I was playing it for a first green day bounce. So it had come up from the 68 cent range on its day one, gone up to like 187. Had this pullback here over multiple days, and it did try to go a little bit green there, to be fair, and I played it on this day here. So the reason I liked this was, so pre-market, this is after hours, the day before I played it, and pre-market on the day I played it. It was kind of, granted there wasn't much liquidity in there, nothing much going on, but it was holding this 74 cent range. And a couple of days before, it had pushed off nicely off that 74, 75 cent range, which I liked. Also, going back to its day one, we can see that it came from that 74 cent range when it started to break out and move upwards significantly. So that was all setting up really good for me. A lot of tick boxes there. And then the other thing I did was go back to the daily chart. You can see it had this day one here as well. And it's going to be a bit complicated to explain, but I was trying to follow what it did there. And after its big run up previously, I could see it came back down. And these days here, these 2 days before it had a bounce here, were matching up to kind of these 2 days here. So it's kind of hovering on that bounced off that 77 mark, had like a red day, and the day after it kind of had this bit of a green day here, around the same area. And if you can see here, it's doing the same thing. It's had that red day here, bouncing off 75, had a sort of nothing green day. And I just thought these 2 days here looked really similar to these 2 days here, moving in the same price range. And this spike before had come from exactly the same area. It did start from 67 cents, but actually on the day it was breaking out from that 74 cents, if I remember correctly. So really similar day one moves, and then really similar 2 days before the bounce kind of setting up. So I really liked that. So I took the trade pre-market, and I took it at 77 cents entry roughly. And I was a bit unsure on this one because there was such a lack of activity going on, no liquidity, and also the spread was really large. Not really large, but it was large enough for me not to like it. So, you know, getting in at 77, I would have wanted to risk off around 74, but immediately once I bought the stock, the selling price was like 70 cents. So you're already on the back foot. Obviously, didn't have a stop loss on because it's pre-market, so I knew that I was already going to be at a loss and just needed to let this play out. So I got in at 77 cents. Kind of see these little green starts of the candles here dipping at like 72, and that kind of scared me a bit, even though they're not even full candles. But I don't really know how to work with these stocks that have no liquidity, but I'm conscious that volume can come in at any point if I've got a good thesis around it as well. So I just was a bit unsure about how this was going to move. Like, what if it just suddenly jolts down when it opens? There just wasn't enough data here for me to really work off. So I got in at 77, market opened. I decided I'm just going to cut. I just got scared out. I was like, I don't know which way this is going to go. I don't like the liquidity on it. So I just sold at like 76.50, and I lost about $1 on it. And I put $80 on the trade, lost about $1. And then, as we can see, as the day went on, about 11 o'clock US time, it just had this 60% move upwards. Just, I wasn't expecting a move that big, to be fair. As you can see, my profit targets were here at around 88 and 96. And it went, all the way to like 120, so 60% bounce there. And I wasn't in it to kind of cash in on any of that action. So I feel like my thesis was, well, it was correct. And I missed out on it. I didn't stick to my plan. So I was absolutely furious with myself. And just a good lesson to stick to the plan. But also, to be honest, this lack of liquidity, large spread, perhaps I need to learn about whether I should be taking the trade there or not, because this could potentially be a red flag. Like, when you've not got data to work with, how do you really anticipate what's going to happen? So I don't know how I feel about it. Obviously I missed out on it. I need to know how to work with these non-liquid starting points. So that's my 3 trades. Obviously made some money on my first ever trade with real money, and then pretty much lost my gains there. Did come up about, 40 cents on the account, something like that. So kind of just back to even Stevens. So we'll just see what happens next time, and I'll try and either stick to my plan or just get some better trade setups, better discipline. Definitely that RNAZ one was not a good trade. This one, I wish I'd held it. And the first one, didn't really do what I did, but still made a little profit. So that's that. So I am having to deal with the emotions of taking a bad trade and also missing out where I didn't stick to my plan. So these trades happened over a Thursday and Friday, and I had a lot of adrenaline going through me, and I didn't feel that good in my body afterwards, if I'm honest. And there was a lot going on with trying to figure out how to use Webull whilst being in my first real money trade. And Friday came, the market closed, and honestly, I was just so happy to just switch off for the weekend and just try and feel more relaxed in my body. So I do feel much more calm and level-headed now. I've had a bit of a reset, and I am actually looking forward to doing some trade analysis and planning for next week. But I'm conscious that I do need to try and balance my emotions and find that healthy balance between trading and outside life. So let's see what next week brings, and thank you for watching.